Farm for Profit Podcast. Take a listen, have a blast. Farm for Profit Podcast. Learn about farming while having a laugh. Farm for Profit Podcast.
Dave, you've got a drone.
Sure do.
Corey?
I do. I'm on my third drone, I think.
I've got one, and I'm hoping that I can send it with these guys today to get it fixed.
Oh, really? What'd you do? Crash it?
I crashed it. Don't all drone operators crash?
You'd actually be the first one.
No way.
Yeah, you're the first crash I've ever heard of.
What a loser.
Way.
Well, you're on your third one, so you had to crash.
No, I just upgrade.
Oh, right. Yes. Upgrade just strategically when you crash it.
I've crashed once or twice.
Just twice?
And the reason that I've crashed is, there's sonar. So we bought the upgraded one, sonar on the front of them, and it's, okay, something's in front of you. Great. Mine goes off. I'm like, okay, awesome. The drone did what it's supposed to. I'm about to hit something. So I got my field of view, and I'm looking at my viewer. I look left, nothing. Looked right, nothing. Up, down, left, right, nothing. I cannot see anything. So I'm like, what? I don't know what well, let's back out. So let's go backwards. So I decided to go backwards, and boom, hit a power line. Drops into the lake.
Oh.
So I'm like, all right, even if it hit a power line, I'll fix it. I'll go find it. It'll still have GPS. Not if it's in the lake. So
nice.
That one was a bad crash.
That was not a good crash. Well, we've got two experts here that might be able to tell us some fun stories like that. We are joined today by Danny Osman and Ryan Schrader. Both last names not pronounced like they're spelled. So it's good to have both you guys here. Welcome to the podcast.
Hey, thank you for having us.
Thank you.
And you're fresh off of a team meeting, so you've got to have all the information, right?
Well, we don't, but we have people that do.
I love this. This is good. Let's start off first. Danny, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you're up to?
So my name's Danny Osman. I'm originally from Erling, Iowa, a small town in western Iowa, the Luss Hills, if you will.
Yep.
Pretty steep terrain, but a very good friend of mine says these hills are forgiving. And so it's been kind of nice. I started farming a few years ago with my dad. Prior to that, I've been a commodity trader for 15 years. So right out of college, moved around, have a wife, bless her heart. She deals with our two boys. They're 8 and 5, and we live out on our family farm where, we basically, I told someone I spent 20 years of my life trying to get back to where I started. So,
That's a good concept. So, did you trade for your own or for actual other companies? Or
no, so I started with a company that doesn't exist anymore. It's called DeBruce Grain.
Oh yeah.
So I used to work for DeBruce Grain, and then they became Gavilon, which I think has now become Viterra. And then I did exports for a while, and now I work with some feed yards, and I actually do some consulting, just helping them with their cash grain needs based around their feed not necessarily being right, and that's kind of how I met Rodeo.
You said over
Rodeo.
Whoa, Rodeo.
I didn't introduce anybody by the name of Rodeo.
I'm assuming that's Ryan.
That'd be me.
That would be Ryan. So Ryan was originally a customer of mine.
Nice.
And so that's
Hence is how we got into the drone business.
Aha.
All right, well, let's dive into your background, Ryan.
My name's Ryan Schrader. From Moldebold, Iowa. Born and raised there. Went to college for 2.5 years. Came back to the family farm. Got into cattle feeding.
Do you pronounce the L? Is it Odabolt or is it Odabolt?
Odabolt. So you do pronounce the L, but if you say it real fast, the L doesn't show
It's
up.
just Sodabolt. That's how I've always heard it. Yeah.
the real question is it Odabolt or is it OD Bolt?
I think that's a long-standing conversation that people have. That I don't know if it's been solved yet.
I digress. Back on track. All right. Here we go.
So I guess, like I said, grew up feeding cattle, working with my dad and grandpa, and farmed, fed cattle in about 2000. Kind of started taking that over with my dad. Got married in 2001. You know, got a feedlot, ran a couple feedlots, a couple thousand head of cattle, 4 kids, and a wife that's involved with our business right now in the drones. And yeah, met Danny. I don't know when it was, probably 4 or 5 years ago.
It's been a while.
Started working with me, helping procure feed, and yeah, called me one day and wanted to know if I wanted to load a modified for $100 a ton, and said it probably sounded good. What are you doing? I'm going to pay for a drone I bought.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how that started.
Nice.
So where did rodeo come in?
Rodeo came in about the 6th grade, and I think it's about the time Garth Brooks came out with the song Rodeo.
Oh, yeah.
And I happen to like horses, so it didn't take long for the upperclassmen to attach a nickname. So that's where it came from. Nothing.
Have you ever rodeoed?
So ironically, I am into horses and do team rope a little bit.
Okay. Nice.
Are you the header or heeler?
I can do both. So
Oh, very good.
yeah, primarily head.
We had the Miss Rodeo Iowa on the podcast before
Miss
Christmas.
Barnes.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Yep.
She got some awards, some scholarships. I think you
Miss
sent me.
Congeniality is what she won at the
At the NFR.
Miss Rodeo
yep,
USA.
Miss Rodeo USA.
Cherokee, Iowa, right?
Yeah,
There you go.
absolutely. Well, that's good. Well, it sounds like we got a little bit of a diverse background between the two of you that came together to put together a company that's now called Terraplex, but it hasn't always been Terraplex, right?
No, originally, I'm sorry, I'm laughing because the amount of agony that we went over trying to decide the first name, and back and forth, and finally, we pretty much made it as simple as we could, and we originally started a company called Iowa Aerial Applicators, and I mean, frankly, the whole thing exists by accident.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I was at a farm show in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and a guy at a booth had a drone, and I thought it was the coolest thing ever, right? I mean, you look like the drones in Star Wars.
Yep.
So you're talking a bigger drone. So when you said you went and bought a drone, I was thinking like a little like fly over your house drone. You're talking you saw a big drone.
No, it was to spray his crops, right?
Gotcha.
And I thought it was pretty cool, and we farmed the hills, and you know it's hard for a plane or a helicopter even to do a great job, but let's be honest, I bought it because I thought it was really cool, and I had some excess money laying around, and so I bought one and got into it and bought one and called the rodeo and told them that I was buying a drone. I was pretty much telling everybody.
First
it
he said,
him.
"You're gonna think I'm nuts if I tell you this. So I'm not even gonna tell you." And I kept, "Hey, you got to tell me what's going on. What's going on?"
He knew he was going to tell you. People don't call you to say, you're going to tell me I'm nuts.
I knew it was nuts before, so it doesn't really matter.
And he goes, well, call him back. I'm going to buy one too. And so he bought one. I mean, realistically, you're talking about two very much impulse buys.
Those are the best purchases, the sympathy purchase.
At the register, we were probably the easiest sales for that guy that day. Then in essence, we formed a company just because we wanted to save money on the FAA regulations.
Oh, yeah. Get
So
to part 107 and
yeah,
107C, yeah.
the 137, and so we decided we wanted to save a couple grand, so we started a company. And oh gosh, it was after we started spraying, I guess I had no idea what was going to happen, and I'm guessing neither did you.
No, it was kind of a cross between that show Jackass and Three Stooges.
So what year was this? You guys started this, or you got the drone?
This was 2 years ago.
Okay.
About almost 2 years ago to the day.
And you've already changed company names.
Yeah, so we started spraying locally, and just we're gonna do it mostly for ourselves and some neighbors, and then it kind of grew, and people wanted to start buying them, and so we started selling them, and actually the first ever customer that we had for selling a drone, the guy was having problems with a different brand of drone that he'd gotten somewhere else, and called us at the end of the season and asked me if he could hire me to finish what he needed to do. And I said no, because I'd promised my wife. I'd already skipped family vacation and everything else, and I said I promised my wife I was done, and let him use the drone. Just let him borrow it.
Yep.
The next day he came and bought one, and that was the first drone that we sold.
That's why all those dealers let you use their stuff, Corey.
No.
All the dealers?
I thought he was going to come back and say he piled it up or something.
Yeah.
He found a power line like Dave.
Yeah.
And so then we decided we were going to start selling them, and then we had Iowa aerial applicators, and it grew in spite of our lack of really
Direction.
We didn't know
knowledge.
what we were getting into when we got
So
the drone.
where did
Really,
Terraplex come from? Because when I came into the conversation, I'm like, what is Terraplex? And I really didn't have a knowledge of what Terraplex was. But when you said Iowa aerial applicators, I'm like, okay, I know exactly what this is. So you guys changed to a name that is more like Google. What's a Google? So you moved from a very defined name to a cooler name, bigger name. Why?
Because the company has grown to much more than just Iowa.
It's like the Ames Ag Summit.
And we're adding experts in other fields than just aerial application. And with the growth that's been going on, as well as getting outside of those two things, we needed to change the name to a company that is more inclusive, I guess, geographically as well.
Okay.
That makes sense. Like I said, we started off as the Ames Ag Summit, and very quickly we had people from outside of Ames attending our conference. So switched the name to Farm for Profit. And we share the same sympathies on what it takes to create a company name and how you agonize over it and logo designs. And then when you finish it, maybe you're still not happy with it, or you're just stuck with it. So we've been there, but God, it's hard not to call you Rodeo.
hey,
So
that's all right.
So Rodeo, as you look at the way this business is growing, tell us now what you do at Terraplex. What are you all offering to the farmer now if they want to come and reach out to you?
Well, besides, obviously spray drones, we take the approach that, a lot of companies are wanting to sell a drone to a customer. We look at them as teammates, team members for us, because we want to, custom app is kind of where where our roots are. Mm-hmm. So, there's a lot of acres to get covered by aerial application, and we think that drones eventually will lead that space. And so it starts with drones. Who knows what it'll be in the future? But we offer, customer service after the sale, training, and compliance for sure. So
does that training help me get better at running it so I don't crash it like I did?
That's our goal.
Now, I thought I had a phone call where someone was telling me, it might have been you, Danny, it might have been somebody else that told me that you don't take a salesman on unless they've crashed a drone, or you don't take an employee on unless they've already crashed one. Why is it important to have crashed a drone?
So when Ryan and I first got into this, like I said, we bought our drones not really. They come. We bought them online, basically. Made a phone call, ordered the drone. It showed up in a box. Training was essentially a demonstration, and after watching someone do it, you kind of think, "Oh, okay, I got this." Well, you don't got this, and the the amount of, I mean, the frustration level that can be had with owning a drone, and so learning by crashing in year one, it was absolutely amazing how many learning experiences we had, and frankly, every one of those was exacerbated by the fact that the dealers were 6 hours away, right? Mm-hmm. And so service, if you landed, or I'm going to call it emergency land. Is that the right word we're looking for?
We say crash. Crash is a strong word for
hard landing. Hard landing.
Hard
that's
landing.
the case. I have hard landed a drone before.
strong language. But
in 12-foot corn, half mile away,
yep.
your drone is landed.
Yeah.
So
doesn't matter what word you use. You're still walking a half a mile in a cornfield.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know, and carrying a 26-pound battery and a remote, and you're looking at the remote to try and find the drone, right? I mean, it's just it's the age of, and it comes down to knowing how to set things, where to set them, what to do at certain times. I mean, it boils down to experience, and frankly, we didn't have it because nobody had it.
When we started, it was just us two. You know, we didn't know anybody else had spray drones, so it was us two, and he's 45 minutes away, and so when something would happen, I'd call him, hey, what do you think of this? He'd call me, what are you doing about this? And together, we're almost either cheerleaders or I don't know what you call it, because there's many nights I'd get home and I'm like, I think I'm done. I don't think I'm going to get through this.
How much of that has changed? So from the first drone that I had, it was mostly all manual. With some smart features. And now the drones of today, so I fly farms all the time, and I make missions that are already pre-calculated, pre-done, drone deploy, etc. And the computer and GPS handles so much of that now. Now, it took a whole different learning curve to learn all of how to program it to go where I want it, but now it flies so much better than I can manually fly it. Are you guys still manually flying most of this, or is the computer flying?
No, to your point, the computer is flying all of it, but the operator enters the input, right? It still relies on an operator to know what's out there, and the obstacle avoidance is a lot like a safety on a gun, right? It's the last resort. So we want to make sure that nobody goes through. I mean,
we focus on that in our training quite a bit. I mean, that's something we spend a lot of time on with guys, and hey, we just want them to get the most out of their investment, because at the end of the day, that's what it is. They're writing a check for something they're hoping to get some payback on, and they're not going to if they're not properly advised on how it works. And
but honestly, if it wasn't for all the stuff that we went through and the people that we know went through, we wouldn't have Terraplex, and a lot of those people today are a huge part of what makes us successful. Those the new additions, because they don't want to see anybody go through what they went through either, right? The how do you say it? The buy it online model. It's not safe, it's not effective, and it's not efficient. One of the things that we recognized, Ryan, frankly, was the one that once we started, all of a sudden we were selling drones, and he said, we have to have a store. And so we opened our first store this summer. I don't know if it was you, or I think your wife forced us out. If I remember right, your wife, we were kind of operating out of the she shed, and I think there was a graduation coming, maybe.
I think so. It's one of those deals. She waits 10 years, and I do it in stages. So I buy the trusses this year and let them sit there. And we'll start it next year, and so 3 years into it, it's finally done, and that's about when we started getting drones in, and I'm like, where are we going to put them? So, well, I got this shed I just got finished. And it was fine for a little bit, but the closer it got to May 15th, it was like, hey, we got to do something here.
That's funny. But I do see how you mentioned that the people around you is what really helps this business propel. But it's kind of like what we started off. We found a hole, and people weren't doing podcasts on how to make more money as a farmer. People weren't putting information out there trying to dive to the bottom of what is going to contribute and provide more value to everybody as we put this content together. You guys are doing the same when it comes to the drone world. But maybe for our listeners who don't see how this could fit on their operation, what are your customers using their drones for? Like what types of products are we spraying? What types of cover crops are we seeding? Is it more than just spraying and seeding?
So everything it starts with fungicide and insecticide, right? Those are your two core businesses. But what we're finding out is they're a lot like the Gator or the side-by-side of the ag world. You can use them for everything from spraying terraces and waterways for wild cucumber to, just cleaning up bugs on the edges of fields so that you can wait on your fungicide application for your soybeans, right? Just doing incremental things to add a value to your crop and maybe even make a landlord happy, right?
Right.
If you're the guy whose terraces never have any weeds in them, suddenly, I grew up in western Iowa, and a lot of those older generation farmers, that's what they pay attention to.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're young and you're the guy who's doing things like that, that can help you add more not just value to your operation, but and then through those custom application businesses, now you're meeting new farmers, and it naturally becomes a way for the younger generation to grow not only what they're doing through the aerial application, but other aspects of farming, right? More connections mean more opportunities.
Okay. So you guys are spraying. You're actually doing the custom spraying yourself, as well as selling drones and doing the training. Is that correct?
Yes, we do the custom application and sell drones in the training, but more so the people that we sell drones to are part of a team, and we rely on those guys for custom app also.
Okay.
Along with our pilots, there's a lot of guys that are, we've got I don't know how many drones we've sold, hundreds, and customers and our custom app crews, and there's a lot of guys that want to do so many acres in 1 year, and trying to reach milestones. And with our network and our pilots and what we've been doing, I mean, we've already reached that and been there. I mean, we're looking into the future and going places that frankly I don't think anybody's looking at. And along this way, we've ran across these people because the drone world is relatively small when you think about it. And just because of our customer service and everything that we do, we've gotten to know a lot of people, whether they bought a drone from us or not. And frankly, the guys that are still in it that started 3-4 years ago, and we've met them and ran across them, they're the most valuable people we have on our team, by far.
Hands down. I mean, we owe a lot of our success to the other companies that sell drones. And by that, I mean, whether it's the customers that we've been able to service and meet through that service, or even the people that we met through those people, right? I mean, that have become invaluable to us. Frankly, one of our guys down by the Ben who runs our store in Pella, we always make the joke that he's only with us because nobody else would call him back to sell him a drone.
Dave, you know what that feels like.
I do, yeah.
I was blown away by it. It was last spring, and he was a long ways away. I said, hey, you're closer to this guy and this guy. And a month later, he called me again, and I said, what's going on? He goes, nobody will call me back. Nobody will answer my questions. And he said, I said, fine, I'll sell you a drone. And so we went through it. And thank God I did, because he's running a store for us now. And his name's Ben DeBoof. He's a really sharp kid. And I mean, can't say enough good about him. He runs the store for us down in Pella. And
So are you guys a franchise model? Are they franchising Terraplex, or are they just a subsidiary, or are they their own store?
he is a company store.
Gotcha.
So he's a location. We do have some authorized retailers that we work with outside of our area, but we have 3 main stores right now. Odebolt, Iowa, where it all began, I guess. Right next to the old folks' home.
Oh, yeah.
And
Keep eyeballing my spot there in the future. Picking out the room in the back.
Picking
with the
out,
view.
yep.
conveniently located for farmers who are on their way to and from Okoboji.
Yep.
For anybody that's on their way to and from the lake.
Yep.
But like you said, you switched away from an Iowa-named company to Terraplex because you're beyond that border of the state of Iowa, which is our listeners are beyond the border of the state as well. But I want to go back to the comments that we were having there around the custom drone application, because I know we've had some listeners write in. You spray with a high-clearance sprayer, and you get paid by the acre?
Mm-hmm.
How's that work when you look at the custom rates for drones? Is it by the acre? Is it by the ounce, the gallon, the flight hour? How does that work?
So we charge one of 2 ways, either by the acre or by the hour. I brought up the drone can be the gator of the ag spray world, right? If I'm spraying a half acre of terraces, that might take me 4 hours, but it's not going to pay very much if I'm doing it at
By the acre.
by the acre.
Yep.
So there's certain things are hourly, certain things are acres. We a lot of that's determinant on how it's a give and take between each individual customer as well.
So, Ryan, he keeps referring to the gator of spray drones. I know there's a lot of farmers out there that didn't buy a side-by-side for the longest time, and now they realize that they can't live without it. So what's the gateway to a listener getting into a drone or incorporating the use of a drone? Maybe it's just a custom application, someone coming and doing it on their farm. What's the gateway? What's been working?
Well, first of all, you got to get a license, basically, just like having a CDL. So we work with that, and we've invested heavily in that with part of our team, and that's what they do. And so to get them compliant, to get them certified, and then to get them in a drone, that's where it starts. And then the training also comes into that. And once we do that, and they can go out and experience, and we show them hey, it's not as bad as it looks. It will suck if you crash, and when you crash, but if you do it right and work with us, you will be successful. So.
When you do crash out in the middle of a cornfield, you said 12-foot tall corn, and this drone's out, and you have to go out there and get it, carrying this heavy battery. If it's flyable, could you just ride it out with you?
So that's why you drag the battery out with you. You take the battery out, and if and when that happens. Now I'll also tell you that the occurrences per drone this year were substantially less than last year. And there were a lot more. We had a lot more drones out, and frankly, we learned a lot of things even this year. There's essentially 2 major brands of drones, and we fell into running both of them.
You run both brands.
We did this year, yes.
So what? And you sell both brands as well?
Yes, we sell both brands, XAG and DJI.
So you're probably one of the only companies that does that sells 2.
Yes, we are.
We're one of the only companies who sells both brands, but to our knowledge, we're the only company that actually ran both brands commercially last year.
Cool.
We got lucky. I mean, Ryan, I rodeo. Sorry, talked me into.
We can't use real names here.
Talked me into. If you go to Odebolt, you can't. But talked me into running the XAG drones last year, and frankly was a really good deal because we found out that it's not about one or the other. It's about the right one.
Is there what? Why would you pick one over the other? Does one spread dry fertilizer or seed better than the other one? What
depends on what you're wanting to do.
The price point.
Some are easier to use than others. Some are more efficient and faster than others. Like, it really depends on who the customer is and what they want to do with that drone.
I still don't know why you drive a Chevy. I guess that's your answer.
Right, very much so. I mean,
both brands have a big drone and both have a small drone. The big drones, are way efficient on wide open, flat black and long ground like I have up in our area. And
yep.
Danny has the hills down there, and he's the little drone and the big drone down there makes sense. So they each have their place.
So when you say big drone and little drone, I think a little drone is like our little DJI Mavic, which is not probably what you're talking about. What's a small drone to you?
A small drone to me is a 5-gallon drone.
5 gallon, okay. And what's a big drone?
13.
Is that the max you can go?
That is today.
Today.
Gotcha. So, Danny, question for you. If I know that a lot of American farmers want American-made and whatnot, but even my iPhone has, maybe stuff that's made in another country. All the guys that I'm thinking about are their privacy. Even when I go to the FSA office, Farm Service Agency, they won't give me the documents because they don't want me to know unless I have a permission slip from that farmer. Do you guys as a company protect people's data? Is that kind of part of your niche?
Yes, that is very much a part of what we have invested in technology,
data protection
above and beyond the drones, but to continue to improve the knowledge that the farmer has over and above what anyone else has over his fields.
Very good. Very good. Yeah. That's one of my sayings, guys. Data is, currency of the internet, and that's what you're doing. You're spraying people's fields. I use it drone deployed to even get soil grids on top, heat maps, etc. So, and I know that's a question I get asked all the time. So that's awesome. You guys are doing that.
On the technology side, you mentioned drone deploy. Are you guys using an in-house software for spraying and making sure setting that up, or do you have other softwares that you use?
Combination of both.
Okay.
We have both as of right now that we're using.
What about age demographic? Do you guys have a key seller? Okay, we're all under 50. So do you have 70-year-olds that come and say, "I want a drone because I think this will be good"?
They might be the ones right in the chat.
Or is it the kids? Who do you guys target? What's the
rodeo? Why don't you tell them the story? I mean, one day I think Ryan had 2 guys come in that were 60 years old and older.
In their mid-60s, and this was right before spraying season, and they wanted to take a spray drone home and do their own stuff, and we were getting drones and working on them, and they take their time. I mean, if they're going to buy something, they're going to take their time, and they're going to make sure that purchase is what they're going to do. So here's how we do it. The wife's sitting there. They've got the controller. It's like a computer, to someone when they came out 30 years ago, and they're doing this. And I let them just take their time and showed them how to take it off, how to land it. I'm running around doing something, running back and forth. Next thing I know, I hear this drone taking off again and coming back. And I'm like, "You guys okay?" "Oh yeah, I think we're getting it right now, And I'm like, "Perfect." And 5 hours, 6 hours later, they're like, "Well, I guess," and the wife's saying, we can do this. And the guy's still not sure. And they end up taking it home. And 2 weeks go by, and he called the first 3 days and asking a lot of questions and spraying water. And finally 2 weeks go by and he calls again, and I thought, man, he crashed it. And he goes, no. I said, how's it going? He goes, not going that good, huh? And he goes, no, I'm just still practicing with water, but I'm going to spray this afternoon. And I thought, he's probably regretting his decision. So an hour later, I called him back and I was like, hey, if you're not comfortable, I'll buy it back from you. No, I think we're good. Never heard from him again. Sprayed 1,500 acres, and got along perfect.
Smokes.
So the 65-year-olds, I mean, they're some of the best pilots that we've got.
But that's part of your business model is the training and the customer service that you guys have that on the back end. So I'm guessing you're making those folks more comfortable.
No doubt. And we've even penetrated the Amish market. So
Awesome.
yeah.
How does that work?
Well, they're hard workers. I don't know how they power them up or keep the batteries charged, but
A lot of times if they have a motor, right, like a generator, like they're okay. I don't know how, but they
I
are.
think that's what the rules are.
Yeah.
They can't directly propel.
Someone might
But
have to drive them.
Yeah, I mean, we over half the drones we serviced last year were drones that someone else sold because they would instances where they would pick them up from other dealers and bring them to us because we could fix them. And again, it goes back to the people. We had the right. Got very lucky. We're very blessed with the right people at the right time, and our service guys are definitely one of those.
So, Dave, I'll let you interject a question. Then I've got two things that I want to wrap up with. I want to talk what the payback is on a drone, and I want to talk about what they think is going to happen in the future. So
Perfect. I was curious. We go to farm shows with the podcast and get a look at these, and I'm like you. I look at this toy. I'm taking it home. I'm going to get one, right? So I've looked at them, and I've seen different ones that you manually operate, and then there's some that I'm going to say are more robotic that they even come home and fill, and there's a filling station. And they go out, they spray so many acres, they come back, they have an automatic fill, they go out, they charge while they're filling, they go back out, and it's more programmed. Do you guys do both kinds? Do you one kind? Is one better than the other? I know that's a lot, but
maybe you just have a perception of.
I don't think there's any that I've seen that are there are no drones commercially available that can go out, come back, and automatically refill.
Okay.
That are in production. In the U.S., correct.
Gotcha. Okay.
But today everything is manually refilled. Well, no, you're not. Nobody's spraying it manually or controlling it. It'll come in and land in the same spot every time. Especially if you're running them, they will run on like a cellular RTK system.
Okay.
So you can. They will come in and land, take off, and go back out. You don't have to touch the drone. But you still have to pull the batteries manually and refill it.
Can you manually spray? Is it even possible to manually spray? Mm-hmm. So you could have like a VR goggle on. I feel like you're like an air tractor going under a power line. Oh.
Not exactly. You do it. Not exactly. You're going to do it with the remote. Imagine flying with your kind of a combination of an iPad. If an iPad had joysticks on both sides of it, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of what you're
Okay.
flying. The spray drones, to Ryan's point, the spray drones don't have the cameras like the imaging drones do.
So I couldn't scare the crap out of my neighbors, spraying my yard.
You still can. And you can see them too.
Corey, you get when you're out spraying with your Rogate or whatnot, you get not yield maps, but spray maps. So you're gonna have maps, flight maps of where you go. Do you get the same thing with a drone? Like if your customer or want that to overlay, you said RTK, and it immediately made me think of, can I overlay this with the like a KML file over Google Maps or over something else that I'm currently using?
Yes.
You do? Okay.
And to take it a step further, not only that, but I can actually text you. When you're done, you can actually text the customer a picture of the field, and if they want, they can actually watch on video where they're not perfect, right? Signals get lost sometimes, and so it'll miss a small blip. It got done. It's just but you can get an applied map without a problem, and it's, frankly, it's one of the beauties of it is, there's nowhere to hide behind a computer.
Cool. Well, now We've talked this long on the Farm for Profit podcast. We haven't talked profit. We haven't talked payback. So when you guys are setting up customers, obviously they feel good about making a purchase. But what are we looking for as far as a payback goes on one of these machines? Is it so many acres, so many years? How's that going? What do you want to tackle that one, Ryan?
I've got, we've talked before, about farmers, and they always ask that question. So that is a good question. But we've always said, if they have 1,500 or 1,800 acres, it'll pay for itself, right? Somewhere in there. But I'll tell you, the cost of the drone and having a 107 is probably minimal to making an untimely application or a grain marketing decision.
And just for our listeners that don't know what a 107 is, that's the license maybe for drone piloting, but 137 is the one for application, correct?
Correct.
Okay, for those of you listeners that maybe just didn't catch what a 107 is, just wanted to make sure we clarified that.
But that's a good point. There's costly decisions made every day on the farm.
Yep.
As they make these purchases, it's just like another piece of equipment, right? This is an asset that they hold. It's something that can be depreciated. It can fit into their entire financial picture, correct?
Yeah, no different than any other piece of farm equipment. You're going to want a faster payback than a traditional piece of farm equipment, which with a drone, depending on the size of the operation, the beauty of the drone industry is as it's matured here, we talked about different drones for different people. So that payback can be the same for different sizes of operations and scales of operations, depending on what they really want to do. The payback is immediate, and it's visual, right? You can see it. For a farmer, there's nothing more powerful than being back in control. And for me, I know it's a thing of beauty to be able to do what I want when I want, and we're all control freaks, it's amazing to me how much farmers crave that control and that power and that knowledge, and so that's our goal, is to give them more knowledge than ever before, and also more control than they've ever had.
So, Ryan, what's something like this cost? And I assume that, 3 years, 10 years, like what's the payback?
Well, cost ranges a little bit. So, you're looking anywhere from the small ones to the big ones, $20,000 to $40,000.
Okay.
You've got some additional cost in trailer setup and what have you. So that's the initial cost. But, the cost of a drone and having a 107 is minimal to making, an untimely application or grain marketing decision. So, that's every farmer has their own financial situations that they have to deal with, but the payback can be rather quick.
Is there a warranty on these at all? And the reason I asked that, I put in solar, and they told me that the payoff was 10 years, and I'm like, okay, well, how long are they going to last? 10 years? Where are we done? And it turned out they were 20. So I was about half the time I was going to pay it back before the warranty ran out. Is there similar in this case?
So it's a 1 to 2 year warranty depending on the manufacturer and what a customer decides to buy in addition. There are some additional ones that can be purchased. With that said, I'm going to tell you that 90 to 95% of the crashes that we saw this year were operator error, not the drone malfunction. And it goes back to that buying out of the box. And every time you buy a drone out of a box, it's so hard to get that feel that you can get from being in the store with someone there who's guiding you through that process, right? I learned by doing.
So, question for you, and this might go off the profit here, so you might have to cut and paste this. But I don't know if you ever do this. You guys have drones, but maybe you're doing it for sport. I'm doing a little more commercially with my real estate firm. So do you ever buy insurance policies? Because I buy insurance policies through an app on my phone in case I wreck something, in case, is out there. If you're spraying something out there to decimate a field, do you guys have insurance policies that people buy too?
Yes, there are insurance policies available. that are the main one is your chem liability.
Okay. Awesome.
So imagine that would fall under something similar to commercial application. You know, if you spray some wrong product on someone's field and it kills the whole thing, or spray something that drifts onto the neighbor's flowers.
You wouldn't do that, would you?
Well, you don't intend to.
Okay.
But there's the same probably insurance for that.
You know, you got to remember too. You've got to carry that liability just in case. But you know, we live here in Iowa. The big thing is the B rule. You know, we go out of our way to make sure and inform all of our customers of everything that we can to try. I mean, our goal is to make this thing safe and efficient for everyone involved in the industry because the technology is absolutely amazing.
Speaking of the B rule, can you spray at night?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay.
Not yet. We would love for someone to lobby with the FAA to allow night exemptions because there's just so many different rules that so many different benefits to that. But honestly, today they won't let you. I mean, it's dark, so you don't have to worry about other aircraft. You don't have to worry about wind. You know, you don't have to worry about heat. You don't have to worry about bees. The bugs are out. The corn is unfolded. I mean, it would be an ideal thing, but not today.
Right. I asked that, Dave, because what's the bee time frame we got between 8 a.m. and 6 p.m. or something like that that we can't spray if we're spraying an insecticide?
Correct.
Yep.
Within 1 mile of a
within 1 mile.
registered
Yeah.
apiary.
So being able to do that, well, not a lot of people want to take their big sprayer out after dark. I mean, you can't see. It depends on how good your lights are or whatever. That'd be nice if that was available.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, maybe that'll happen in the future. So let's talk about what you guys see as being the future for this market, the future for what Terraplex is going to be focusing on. What do you think, Ryan? Where's this headed?
You know, we've added a CEO, you know, to our company, and he's got, you know, a tremendous outlook to the future and what we're going. I know what we've been able to put together as far as a team of people or applicators that are on our team, and the things that we're developing that we will let out here as soon as we get finished up and are able to is just nothing short of going to be awesome. So I think the sky's the limit, I guess.
I think that's kind of cool. One guy told me one time, being an entrepreneur, so I started a company just like you guys did, and you always want to be the quarterback. And a guy told me once, he says, Dave, if you want to win the Super Bowl, sometimes you're not the quarterback. So that's cool to hear that you guys have a new CEO take that in a direction and you guys get input on that, and I think that'll make you grow. Is there like growth patterns that you think, like the whole Midwest, like we're going to Illinois, we're going to Missouri, we're going to, I mean,
we have plans to expand outward from Iowa.
Well, congratulations.
That is our intent and our goal, and we are in the middle of finalizing some things.
Right
Awesome.
now we've got 4 locations. Going to have 4 locations in Iowa. We're in Nebraska, and we're going to be soon in every state that touches Iowa.
Awesome.
So.
And that's good to hear because as I've had some conversations before our interview today, I learned that there's drone deserts, that there's areas that you just don't have a lot of drone sales in. Have you guys sold drones in a lot of different states?
Yeah, we've actually moved drones into 20 different states across the U.S. and actually are working on finalizing some more stuff out on the West Coast. So
that'd be way awesome if you guys had a network of all those drones. You know, you already talked about personal relationship network. You guys could be like the drone pilots across the world.
Yeah, it's like the drone art or whatever at the Super Bowl when they fly all those in unison. They'll all be flying their patterns in unison.
Spraying in unison.
Across
Spraying
all the
in unison.
states.
Yep.
like combines going across the field.
That's
stacking
right,
them.
yes.
That'll be all the drones.
It'd be just drones.
That's cool.
There you go.
How many brick and mortar stores you have now?
4.
Today we've got 4.
And they're Odebolt,
Pella, Casey, Lincoln.
I didn't hear Slater.
Slater
Oh.
and
Do you have a good storefront here? You're right.
You have a fantastic storefront.
I know a guy.
The problem isn't the store frontage. It's actually, believe it or not, guys, it's making sure you have a service area.
Yeah.
Anyone can sell anything the first time, but at the end of the day, if you can't back up what you're selling, you're going to have a problem.
Yep.
And we've seen too much of that. We don't want to see that. That's why we've brought on, frankly, people that are a lot smarter than us.
That's why. That's why we got in the selling business. I mean, we were applicators. Only reason we sold drones is because we didn't want them to go through what we went through. So that's kind of why we got into it.
I like that a lot. So I'm going to do my best to kind of summarize the conversation here today. Feel free to add in more after what I've talked about. Corey, you get to issue the challenge.
My challenge is I'm going to ask a couple more questions.
Then we'll ask.
always.
Then we will ask our final question. So you don't want me to summarize yet? You want to keep going?
No, because I'll work my questions into a summary. I'll
Got
let them
it.
summarize or a challenge.
So we had Danny and Ryan here, both from Terraplex. We had a great conversation today learning about how their company got started, how two guys, just like they summed it up themselves, were applicators first after almost an impulse buy on a drone and built this into a company based upon the needs and the holes in the sector that they saw. It was really cool to learn that there are multiple different sizes of drones. There's a lot of different applications for drones. I had never thought about using a drone to spray terraces, let alone spray the edges of my fields to relieve pressure before going in at a better time of the year to spray my fungicide or an insecticide. It's interesting to learn that not every drone is going to apply to every farmer or rancher, that there is an importance to have someone who has quality knowledge about the product that's being sold to be able to make sure you get into the correct drone itself. We also learned that it's not even just a sale, it's also about the service that comes after the fact. Just like my drone sitting in the case right now that has a gimbal problem, they will crash. Or what do we call them? Hard land?
Emergency
landing.
Emergency landing.
There will be emergency landings. The technology continues to get better. We know that data privacy is an extremely important factor to all of our listeners. It's important to the Terraplex guys as they've gone above and beyond within their company to make sure that those take place. It's nice to see that they've got loyal customers and that their dealership and service network is continuing to expand, because you have to have the people around them that have all the know-how, the team that they've built to be able to put together what you've got going on. But you can't be afraid to crash. This repayment is something that will be unique on every single one of our listeners' farms. But ultimately, when you combine in the power of decision-making, the ability to go when you want to go, the potential depreciation and financial impact, as well as maybe the returns you get from the product that's applied, could certainly play into that. But ultimately, we got to meet two really cool guys that seem to have a passion for drones and the nature of the business, that are here to expand the network and hopefully get most of the U.S. covered in 2024. How'd I do?
Sound pretty good.
What'd I miss?
Hey, that sounds good.
I love that when they shake their head no. At least I paid enough attention. Fire away with your
All right, I'm going to take the time to
challenge.
challenge by asking some more farmer questions, because I like the data. We have a Hagee, we spray that, and I've always been interested in the technology. Is your customer a typical customer? Is it someone that's got a sprayer already, or is it someone that maybe doesn't have quite enough acres to justify it?
Good question.
Yeah.
Fascinating. We were actually having this discussion. I think that what we're seeing is oftentimes it is the guy with the ground sprayer, because he already recognizes the reason that he owns the ground sprayer. It's probably not the $7.50 an acre application fee.
Right.
It's the savings on the chem and the other products. And so what this does is it bridges that and branches that and expands it out, because before he had to buy his fungicide and insecticide and everything from the retailer who was lining up the plane and the helicopter And in this case, he, again, not just takes control of his timing, but he's taking control of where he gets to purchase and what he wants to purchase and when he wants to put it on. And no one knows his crop better than he does. And why not give him the tools? You know, he already has a lot of that knowledge. Why not give him the tools and then give him the know-how to use that tool, right? No, you know, they don't. When you get a new tractor, someone shows you how to drive it, right?
Yep.
You know.
Yeah.
So it's a big part of it, right? I mean, they don't want you crashing it.
Okay. And then, my next question. Say I'm a farmer looking at getting one, or maybe I'm a young farmer coming back. I want to come back to farm, and I'm looking for a side business, as a custom deal. I've heard some numbers before. Let's talk your big drone, one of the bigger ones that you have. Flat, black, and square ground, in an ideal situation, say you can spray for 8 hours. What kind of capability, if we're spraying fungicide, are we looking at per hour for, how many acres can we get over?
Flat, black, and tiled.
Well, does the tile really matter when you're flying?
Flat, black, and long. Okay, flat, black, and long.
Long, okay.
See,
Flat, black, and long.
Okay.
I would say square, flat, and black is like tall, dark, and handsome.
Okay.
That's what everybody wants.
Square,
Square, flat, and black.
what's it capable of? Because I know I can go hop on my 120-foot boom Hagee and knock out 1,000 acres if I really wanted to in a day.
So you're going to laugh when I tell you this, but most places at 2 gallons an acre, you're going to be able, realistically, manufacturers probably going to tell you 70 acres an hour.
Okay.
Reality is, if you're really good, you can probably get to that, but you're probably looking at more like 60. Okay. On my personal farm, I actually spray my own personal farm at 1.5 gallons an acre. Speeds me up, and I think it does a better job.
Realistically, 40 to 60 acres an hour.
That's not terrible. And so you're saying then it has a 3-year life? Roughly, batteries and drone.
3-year life. The batteries will last. They're going to last so many cycles. Probably outlast the 3 years, depending on how many acres you spray. If it's a farmer.
You're 60 acres per hour. Do you have to bring the battery back and charge it for an hour, or are you buying three batteries with the deal, and one's charging while one's on the on deck and one's in the hole?
Yep. You'll rotate a series of batteries through that.
Okay. You'll have enough. Let's put it this way: you won't be worried about a blackout at your house this winter. If you buy a drone, you'll have plenty of power at home for the winter time to run your fans and everything else that you need. I can assure you of that. The big thing that people do ignore is kind of the power aspect of it. So, there's various different ways that people can go, and we will help you guide you through that.
So on your own farm, do you actually spray like your pre-emergent and post? You don't do that?
No, it's too risky. You can do some pastures, but I would encourage everybody to be safe. And if it's not labeled for aerial, don't put it through a drone. This is still aerial application.
Right.
Man, you guys got me thinking. So you're talking battery backups. They were just talking about that, and that you could power your house, right? Well, so I just got incentives with the renewable energy credit from the government that basically says we'll give you some tax write-offs if you put solar on. So I put solar. But the one thing in there said they'll give me credits for battery backups. Could I put solar on and buy a drone and use those batteries as the battery backup and write it off on taxes? Not to be the loophole guy. I'm just wondering, can that happen?
So I actually looked into that, and to put enough solar power on your trailer, I looked into that a year ago. To put enough panels on the trailer would be it would be cheaper to just go out and buy 100 of the batteries from the manufacturer and charge them all at home and try and run all day, because of the combination of how many your battery bank size and the amount of weight. It would have been like 10,000 pounds worth of solar panels on the trailer.
Wow.
You need like a van trailer.
So I actually did look into that, believe it or not.
Huh. That's good. All right, are you out of questions?
I can be.
Okay, well, we're going to switch and going to ask all of our listeners here in the first part of all of our guests here in the first part of 2024 about learning styles. We're going to help our listeners pick up maybe some tips to help learn something new. So what have you found individually that has been the most effective way for you guys to learn something new?
I learn by doing. Everything from commodity trading to drones, mistakes are how I've learned. My dad says it's an unintelligent person that doesn't learn from his own mistakes, but he said he was a complete moron who doesn't learn from somebody else's. So I learn by doing. So, for instance, we make people map right into a drone, into a tree now. And now that when we deliver them, because they're going to do it anyway, so we make them see how it works, because I can tell you till I'm blue in the face, but if I show you, you're going to get it.
Right.
Yeah, I also learn by doing, but, as technology changes and advances as fast as it has been, and it's going to continue to do, the team that we've put together, that we can bounce stuff off each other and work with to learn different stuff, because, we've got guys that are specialized in stuff that I can't even speak that language hardly. So,
Yeah. Sure.
It's every day's a learning curve for what we're doing. So, it's fun to get up and
I got to imagine that you guys learned a whole lot by something I do, and that's challenge the process. So here's the status quo. You guys challenged that, said, can we do this with a drone? And you keep challenging it, like, can you add solar panels? Can you add this? So challenging the process, I got to think, might be a tag on, but yeah.
We're looking forward to 24. I know that, because we got a lot of things we're working on.
We think spray trailers, getting spray trailers set up is probably going to be a thing. We're working on trying to get some of those lined out to make the things that we've learned from our custom application business to we think that we can make guys even more efficient, to bump that up to more of that 60, but also cut down on your time in between.
So are you not selling spray trailers right now?
We do. We currently have. We currently carry two different brands of. One's a trailer. One's in goes in the skid.
A skid form.
Skid, I guess, is what. Yeah, and then we're actually working on developing a third one that's customizable.
Oh, cool.
So
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, I like it. I think there's going to be more questions. This will be a good launch into the topic for our listeners, and then they can reach back out to us. Remember, it's 515-207-9640 if you want to call us. You can send us an email, farmforprofitllc@gmail.com. But if they want to go learn more about Terraplex and what you guys do, how do they get a hold of you guys?
We're available at www.terraplexag.com. Also, look up any one of our store locations. Every store location has
Contact on the
contact
website.
number.
You bet.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, that's good. Hopefully we have more questions to bring you guys back in. We appreciate you sitting down today. But listeners, until next time, have a good one.